Did you know that tons of ancient civilizations disappeared without a trace? Get ready for an unparalleled adventure in ancient sports as we delve into the enigmatic mysteries of lost cultures. From the rocky heads of Easter Island to the abandoned monuments of the Maya. Are you ready for a journey into the past? Stay tuned and watch, but immediately after the opening theme, which seems to have been lost to history. So my old sports, this is EdDevelop, where you will find the best scientific and similar curiosities. Subscribe and activate the notification bell to enrich your day every time we upload a new video, and consider our Patreon. Find the link below in the description. Let's get into it. Can you imagine that there was a civilization so ancient that it was the root of all the civilizations we know? We're not talking about the Egyptians or the Babylonians, or even the ancient Cucuteni or Trypillian culture that lived between 2700 and almost 5000 years BC. We're talking about an unbelievable theory, crazy and full of super interesting ideas and concepts that may have even created the legendary myth of Atlantis. For many people, this theory does not seem to make much sense, but for many others, it is a very interesting argument. Surely you have heard of the legendary Atlantis, which the Greek philosopher Plato described as a sea power that sank into the ocean after a natural disaster or the flood mentioned in the Bible. But did you know that Hindu mythology tells of a great city called Dwarka that disappeared under the sea? Or that the ancient Egyptian city of Tanis Heraklion mysteriously disappeared underwater centuries ago? Who is Graham Hancock? Just as you hear it, old sports. The incredible civilizations of the past are full of amazing secrets yet to be discovered. There are many experts in archaeology, experts who have dedicated their lives to unlocking the secrets of these long-gone peoples. Most of the great civilizations disappeared when they were absorbed or conquered by more powerful, more numerous, or more advanced peoples. All experts know that the Egyptians and the Greeks were finally conquered by the Romans, and that all the great peoples of Central America were conquered by the Spanish Empire, equipped with their firearms, armor, and a little bit of smallpox. But did you know that when the men of Hernan Cortez and the other soldiers of the Spanish Empire arrived in what is now Mexico, they found cultures that had disappeared without a trace? For Graham Hancock, British writer, former journalist, and investigative reporter, this was a question as interesting and important as it is for us, my good old sport. This man has written more than 18 very interesting and curious books in which he presents to the world his most interesting and amazing theories about what could have happened to these cultures. From an ancient mother culture from which they all came in history, to the possible intervention of beings from outer space. But don't worry, before you rush off to investigate his books, join us to learn more about the most ambitious of his theories, the Lost Civilization Theory. What would you think if I told you that a long time ago there was an ancient, powerful, and mysterious civilization that vanished without a trace, erased from history like words written in the sand? What would you think if I told you that the few survivors of this once powerful civilization were able to spread throughout the world, bringing their knowledge and wisdom to peoples who would become the ancient cultures we know? Just like that. Hancock's theory of lost civilizations proposes the existence of an advanced mother civilization before the last ice age, that this civilization was destroyed in a devastating way a very long time ago, and that its few survivors were given the task of traveling around the planet and passing on their knowledge of the arts of agriculture, animal husbandry, astronomy, and architecture to the hunter-gatherer peoples scattered all over the world. The mysterious pouches. Have you ever looked closely at Egyptian hieroglyphs? If you have, you are in for an unprecedented discovery. In a large number of Egyptian hieroglyphs, the characters, usually in profile, are in positions almost identical to the figures carved on the murals of the ancient Sumerians and Babylonians. But the similarities do not end there, old sports. Ready to be surprised? It turns out that the figures depicted in these murals, many with wings, animal heads, and other elements of the Egyptian gods, are carrying a curious hearse carved into the stone. This suggests that the two civilizations may have had common ancestors and shared sources of learning, but not so fast. The coincidences, if you want to call them that, don't stop there. Stoneheads. Have you ever heard of the Olmecs? Yes, it is true that they are not as popular or well known as the Mayas or the Aztecs, but they are one of the greatest mysteries of history and archaeology. Nobody knows how this society disappeared, but the most important archaeological record that has been found of them are the enormous carved heads. There are at least 17 gigantic volcanic rock heads, 2.5 meters high and weighing 20 tons. But the most striking feature of the art of this culture that seemed to disappear without a trace is the altar 4 of the Venta, where a figure carved in stone, human-looking and holding a bag in his hand, suspiciously suspiciously similar to the one we have seen elsewhere. Surprised? Well, wait until you hear about the other great stoneheads in history. Let's meet the mysterious Rapa Nui. Building mysterious stoneheads was not exclusive to the Olmecs. Have you ever heard of Easter Island? This fascinating place, also called Rapa Nui, as the vanished people who inhabited it were once called, is practically in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and its closest point to land was more than 3,700 kilometers away, in Chile. It has been discovered that this culture was unique and surprisingly more advanced than anyone could have imagined. With their own writing system based on hieroglyphs, a super interesting religion, and an economy based on fishing and agriculture. Sadly, it was not possible to get to these people, but there will be no shortage of people to see as you approach the island. The Moai remain. What are the Moai? None other than the giant stone statues, almost 10 meters high and weighing 75 tons, that seem to guard the shores of the island. The Moai are as mysterious as the people who built them, not knowing what techniques were used to construct them and for what reason, but they are simply breathtaking. Carved from a single large stone of volcanic basalt, they were transported, according to the most modest theories, over 18 kilometers away. It is believed that these people disappeared thousands of years ago due to invasions, wars, or climate change in the area. Pyramids and abandoned monuments. The ancient Mayan civilization of Central America and the mighty Khmer people of modern-day Cambodia are perhaps the greatest societies to mysteriously disappear without a trace. By the time the Spanish arrived in the New World, the Maya had been reduced to small groups, their incredible temples and pyramids beginning to be swallowed by the vegetation of the rainforest. While by the time of the discovery of Angkor Wat, the largest and most magnificent Khmer monument, reached the west, the empire that built it had vanished. Something more than human? Hancock's theories have been criticized by the scientific and archaeological communities as unrealistic, fanciful, and lacking sufficient evidence to be considered real. One of the most commonly used arguments against them is that there is little archaeological evidence that any human civilization existed prior to the known ancient cultures, and that if there had been a society advanced enough to spread its knowledge throughout the world after being hit by a massive cataclysm, it should have been able to leave evidence of its existence. For Graham and many of his colleagues, however, there is the not-so-distant possibility that our species was contacted in the distant past by beings from other systems, star-dwellers endowed with great knowledge and wisdom that they shared with humans. Could this be the reason why the same cultures that have artistic representations of humans carrying small handbags look non-human? The gods had an aspect that ceased to be human as soon as you reach their head. The Sumerian and Babylonian characters often had animal faces and bird wings, while the character that appears in Altar 4 of the Sale has an animal aspect. The mysteries of the past are dark and tangled. The corridors of ancient palaces all over the world hold mysteries that feed our imagination, leave a multitude of questions on the table, and fill us with the desire to discover more and more. It is certainly a subject that makes us all want to jump into a time machine and go on an amazing journey to discover the secrets and mysteries of the past. That's all for today. My Old Sports, don't forget to like and share, and we'll see you in the next video.